An airport's revenue is generally split 50-50 between two broad categories: aeronautical, money it makes from landing fees and airlines, and non-aeronautical, parking, concessions, and hotels. The concessions component, which includes food, beverages, and retail sales, makes up as much as 60% of the total revenue and is extremely integral to its bottom line. In terms of dollars, airport parking is number one, but concessions run a close second. That's not hard to believe when you look at the price tags on certain items. Today, most airports impose regulations on how much vendors can charge, typically no more than 10 to 15% above the going street price. But street pricing can be problematic in many ways. For one, it's an ambiguous, defined term. Street could mean anything from a corner store to a tourist mecca like a zoo. It's also nearly impossible to find real-world comparisons for some of the food items sold at airports. Then there's the fact that these regulations often aren't policed effectively. A big issue with street pricing is that the airport must commit to enforcement or the pricing controls will simply be ignored. Many of the actual prices you pay for surpass street pricing limits. Water bottles, for instance, often sell for more than double the going rate. A 20-ounce Dasani, which can be had for $1.69 at a convenience store, averages about $3.49 at JFK. However, this hasn't stopped us from buying them. Airports take a number of measures to make sure we spend money after clearing security, including clustering concessions, monitoring foot traffic, and focusing us to snake our way through duty-free shops to get to our gate. We spend an average of $7 for every hour we spend in a terminal. Conversely, our spending decreases 30% for every 10 minutes we stand in a screening line. To increase dwell time, airports encourage us to arrive extremely early. On paper, all of this spending appears to be extremely lucrative for airport businesses. Sales figures can range as high as $7,700 per square foot, more than 10 times the national average outside of airports. But these places aren't minted as much as you think. There really needs to be a high volume of traffic to make airport retail worth it. You need to sell a lot to cover your costs. These costs range from steep rent to logistical headaches to employee retention issues, and combined they can mitigate the allure of being an airport vendor. The higher costs you pay for goods in an airport can be attributed to a minute of operating expenses most customers never think about. First, the high rent. Airports take a percentage of total sales. Second, high construction costs. Third, steep security, handling, and logistic costs. And four, labor costs, higher average salaries than traditional retail jobs. There are a lot of misconceptions about airline pricings. The cost of doing business in an airport is extremely high. Rather than charging set monthly amounts, airports generally take a cut of storefront gross sales. The more a store makes, the more it pays in rent. When a retail spot opens up in an airport, the city puts out a request for proposal and opens it up for bids. An aspiring restaurant or storefront must declare a minimum annual guarantee or base amount it pledges to pay the airport each year, based on set percentages of projected sales. For example, the airport might specify that it wants 10% of all sales up to $1 million, and 12% on anything over $1 million. If you estimate your sales at $1 million, your MAG would be $100,000 per year. If you end up doing $1.5 million in sales, you'll pay $160,000. Once a business manages to beat out competitors and lock down a location, it faces another hurdle: extreme construction and remodeling costs. The cost per square foot to build out in an airport ranges from a low of about $450 per square foot to $2,000 per square foot. It can be hard to get contractors, and if there is a great deal of construction going on in the region, the airport will need to compete for skilled and unskilled laborers. Then there's the handling fees. While restaurants and retail outlets on the street have the luxury of streamlining their supply chains and logistics, airport storefronts must deal with the constant added cost of post-9/11 security measures. And I mean everything has to go through security. You have to do things like count knives several times a day. There are a lot of precautions to take. These security measures also equate to extra labor costs. Employees have to get to the airport every day, pay for parking, go back and forth through security, and wear special badges that can take several weeks to get. These extra costs are factored into the price we pay for bottled water, a breakfast burrito, or a pack of earphones. The tricky logistics of airports make things costlier both for operations and consumers, but these challenges don't seem to be hurting the space much. Airport retail is a $40 billion per year business globally and is projected to grow to $60 billion by the next few years. While brick-and-mortar retail continues to decline in the face of e-commerce, airport sales are up 7% over the past 2 years. Some 3.8 billion people pass through airports each year, and that figure is projected to double in the next 20 years. So what are your thoughts? Do you buy things from airports? Comment below. And as always, take care of your money.